Hey guys, Mark again. In this video we're going to go over the National Jobs Online script. You can access the script by going to jobswithhope.ws/html. So jobswithhope.ws/html. Let's increase the screen a little bit so you guys can see it. Alright, this is our interactive script. Okay, on here you'll actually later on find 4 different scripts, not just these 3. We will be adding and assisting renters, and as soon as that video goes up you will see that script in on the script site. Okay, now let's dive right into it. We're going to start off with National Jobs Online. The script is going to be the one you used primarily. You will happen to get some EDU calls every now and then and HOPE calls, so we'll pay to know these scripts, but let's start with NJO. Okay, let me first introduce you to the site. So NJO, there's a couple ways to navigate this site. The first way, and this is probably the way you're going to use most of the time, is just kind of scroll through it. Okay, and what I mean by, okay, so you got your introduction script. This is your intro. As soon as you answer the call, hello, this is Mark from National Jobs Online Employment Center. May I speak to, Joe Schmo? Hey, Joe Schmo. I'm calling you today regarding the application you recently submitted. Do you have a few minutes to talk? They say yes. Okay, let me start off by asking you a few questions. Are you currently working or in school? This is very important. We want to know whether they are in school or working. If they do currently have a job, you really want to find out what was the reasoning behind them asking for our help. Okay, we want to help everyone, but why did they want National Jobs Online to contact them? Was it they saw an ad online that had a promising job? Was it they saw a work from home opportunity that they wanted to do? What was it? I mean, we can do a lot of things for people. We can help them go back to school to, get free grants and scholarships to go back to school. We can help them make a better resume. We can help them prepare for their next interview. We can help them, find out what their credit score is for free, so they won't be caught off guard or disqualified from any potential jobs that do require a credit check. More and more employers nowadays do require this. They do this alongside with a background check. Sometimes on those release forms that you sign, if you don't read them carefully enough, you'll just sign away basically the permission to run your credit. And they judge the moral standing from that. If you're the type of person that pays their bills, great. That means you'll probably come into work on time and you're going to be reliable. If you have outstanding debt everywhere they look, odds are you're probably not too reliable. Okay, it's a very unfair way to judge people because there's countless circumstances that could cause somebody to have bad credit. There's people who make ridiculous amounts of money and they really are kind of irresponsible, and just forget to pay their bills. Okay, there's people who make very little money and pay all their bills on time. Never miss a single payment and have a stellar credit score. There's people who had great credit their entire life and all of a sudden lost the job, or a medical bill came along unexpectedly, or God knows what. Life can always throw us curveballs, and it just caused them to fall behind on payments, and their credit just suffered. They were never able to get caught back up. So there's a multitude of reasonings why people could have bad credit scores, and it kind of is unfair to judge. The worst one is your identity got stolen and you don't even know about it. There could be somebody out there in your name racking up credit card bills, car notes, and what have you, going out and getting arrested, It's a big thing. Identity theft is huge. Okay, it's the number one crime in the U.S. and it's the fastest growing crime in history. In no time in history has there ever been a crime that has grown this fast. It's been around for a long time, but not at this level. Just recently, the president, his debit card got declined because somebody got a hold of it. If the president could be a victim, any one of us can. I personally had my card number stolen, and I've seen charges on there where Chase has called me and told me, "Hey, is this you?" No, and that was taken care of. But I do have safeguards in place. I am a LifeLock member. I have Legal Shield with their identity theft protection program. Um, I'm pretty much covered. I mean, I don't care who has my social security number because I can tell you this much: my social security number is all over the internet, all over the web. Um, I'm sure countless people have it, but they can do whatever the heck they want with it because I'm protected. Um, Back to my point here. So, with us being able to provide LifeLock, which will check to see if their identity possibly have been stolen, if there's any kind of criminal record in their name that they don't know about, if there is anybody using their credit report, and racking up bad credit, negative credit under somebody's name, and they go in and apply for a job. All right, interview goes great. Oh yeah, we're really excited to bring you on board. All this and above, and then all of a sudden you never hear back from that employer. Okay, if the hiring manager pulls a credit report in the background check and it comes back, that failed to pay this bill, has a car repossession, maybe the person in your name got pulled over under drunk driving, and then skip bail. Oh, there's a warrant out for this person. You never know. This could be in a totally different state. This could be you could be living in Michigan like I do, and somebody in California steals your identity and goes out and does whatever the heck they want. Gets in trouble under your name, what have you. It really is ridiculous. I'm sure there's nobody out there that does not know someone or had this happen to themselves. Um, it's really bad, but there's things we can do to protect ourselves. Now, LifeLock is free for them, and I don't mean to kind of go off on a tangent about LifeLock, but what is our kind of our flagship product for people. So you really, as an associate, you really want to go ahead and just make sure you drive this point home. It is monumentally important to know what's going on with your credit and to know, okay, what exactly is maybe your identity got stolen and somebody's out there getting criminal charges in your name. Okay, you should know all this before you walk into your first interview. Okay, because that first interview could be the perfect job, and they may love you. But believe me, if something's back negative, they're not going to call you and say, hey, listen, we saw that you got a DUI 5 months ago in, Ohio. Was this you? No, they're just going to say, oh, okay, this isn't the person we want working here. We'll just move on to the next applicant. You'll never hear from them. They'll never call you. They don't have to tell you. They can just choose not to hire you. So you may be sitting there waiting and not understanding why you're not getting jobs, and this kind of stuff is on your credit and on your criminal report. Okay, and LifeLock will show both. So make sure that every person you talk to really knows the benefits of LifeLock. Um, so kind of back to my point, back to the script. Oh, sorry, I talked too much. My computer just kind of went dead. Um, Back to the script. You're going to ask them a series of questions. What you really want to do is just really figure out what we can do to help this person. If they're currently working, are they looking for a better job? How long have they had this job? What's making them unhappy about this job? Are they in school? If they're not in school and they're not working, they're great candidates for the Pell Grant. this is all information that you collect. You should just understand how you can help that person better with the information you collect. So, are you currently working or in school? What's the highest level of education you've completed? Okay, let's say somebody tells me I graduated high school. I mean, not high school, but I got a bachelor's degree. Great. You know what? I'm going to throw in an extra question that's not on the script, but I'm going to throw it in there. I'm going to say, okay, how long ago was that? Because if you got your bachelor's degree 20 years ago and you've had the same job for the past 15, 20 years, okay, there's a lot of things that change. And if you've been unemployed for the past year, you're still a great candidate for the Pell Grant. That person probably never thought that they would get a Pell Grant. I've been gainfully employed for 20 years. I've been making 80 grand, this amount of time, and now I lost my job. I'm at a point where I can lose the house. You're a great candidate for a Pell Grant or even some forms of scholarships. If you're not employed, the government provides tons and tons of different programs to help you switch careers. Maybe you've been working, as an engineer, and maybe nowadays it's you want to switch careers to an electrical engineer. Something different. Take some classes. You don't have to take much. Maybe just get some certificates, and you can help people do that. You're not really signing them up for school. All you're doing is getting them in contact with a course advisor that will give them all the information they require to make a wise decision. Okay, so find out what the highest level of education is. Find out what year did they last attend school. Okay, do you plan on furthering your education in the future? Sometimes people have already planned this ahead of time. Okay, yeah, I've always wanted to go back to school, but I never did. I took a couple of classes in, community college, but I just never had the time, or I never had the desire. You know, if somebody doesn't want to go to school, it's usually one of two things: is they feel like it's a time thing, or they feel like it's a money thing. And realistically, those are really kind of mute objections, because time thing, you can take classes over the internet. If you have a desire to make more money throughout your life, get some certs. Okay, we can help you get a job, but I mean, if you're a general laborer, there's so many jobs out there. So many people want these kind of jobs, but companies don't want to hire for that. You know, companies, it's much more cost efficient for a company nowadays, to move a job overseas, or to get some kind of robot that does the job. If you guys want to kind of have a eye-opening experience, Google this robot called Baxter. Okay, it's a robot that costs $20,000. It's really easy to teach. Okay, it's easier to teach than a person. Okay, all you do is you grab its hand, you move it to one spot, you close its fingers on something, you pick its hand up, you move it to a different spot, release that object that you had him pick up with his fingers, and then tell him, Baxter, repeat that, and he will do that the same exact way every single time. Okay, for as long as you want him to do it. And that robot costs $20,000, and he can work 24 hours a day. How many people do you know that you can hire to work 24 hours a day, 356 days a year, for $20,000? Nobody. They're saying this kind of robotic technology is going to bring jobs back to the States. It will. It'll bring manufacturing back to the States, but it won't be the same type of jobs that we're used to in America. Where the promise is, if you have desire to work, if you're willing to put in some hard work, 8-hour shift, 10-hour shift, manual labor, you can live the American dream, have a home, raise your family, pay your bills, no problem. That doesn't exist anymore. So by helping people kind of get a job, get an education for a better job, you're doing them a huge favor, whether they know it or not. Okay, you don't want to be pushy about it, but realistically, if they're out of work, you should be adamant about. Listen, just find out if you get $5,730, okay, a semester to go to school. You can take online courses. You can take on-campus courses. You can take a blend of both. Okay, if you do this, and 2 years down the road you at least have an associate's degree, you can qualify for better jobs. Okay, this is the difference between making 20 grand a year or 40 grand a year. Okay, 20 grand a year, you can't feed your family. You really can't. That's nothing. Okay, 40 grand a year, now all of a sudden you feed your family and maybe drive a car. You know, it really is the difference between night and day. Okay, having some form of education other than a high school degree or GED is really the difference between having a good paying job, the one that you're going to go to every day and enjoy and not want to blow your brains out, or working at like McDonald's, or, I'm not saying anything bad about those jobs, but those are not long-term career jobs for most people. Unless you grow in the company and become management, all this stuff. That's not a long-term career. Okay, that's not a job that most people want to keep forever. Walmart will hire most people, but Walmart also uses all kinds of underhanded tool tactics to not pay their employees what they really deserve to be paid. Work tons of overtime, never get overtime pay. This was in the news a while back that they're getting in trouble because they're classifying employees as supervisors. Okay, so therefore they don't have to receive overtime. So you can't have all employees supervising each other. You know, doesn't make no sense, but they do it. They get away with it. Okay, so education is monumentally important. Everything you're going to find out here is going to help you basically have enough information about that person so you can properly explain why it's in their best interest to go back to school. Now, if you find out this person is in school already, you can't really do anything for them as far as school. They're on the right path already, so don't even bother. Okay, if you find out that they have a PhD, you could ask them if they're interested in furthering, taking some classes later on. If they are, possibly do one education with them. But if they're not, that person really has enough education under their belt to go forth and do whatever they need to do. It's funny that I talked to a PhD person a while back, and we were just talking and kind of going back and forth, and it comes to the point where in the script there's a education. I just kind of asked him, I'm sorry, the screen keeps going down. I just kind of asked him, listen, are you planning on furthering your education sometime in the next year? Are you thinking about taking any classes? Most people with that level of education know the importance of it, and throughout their life, they're always taking classes. They're always furthering their education. He said, yeah. I ran him through classes and careers. I told him, hey, listen, I just wanted you to know what's available out there. You don't have to do the other ones. Let's go ahead and continue. Let's get you a job. He's working for us as an advertiser from home. Great, a PhD. So you never know. Never disqualify somebody, but always try to help. As long as you keep this mentality as you're presenting our products and as you're presenting our company, we're always out to help somebody. You're gonna do just fine. So let me kind of go back to the script. I get long-winded sometimes, and I apologize. Let me see. It's already 20 minutes into this video. I probably should kind of stop it and go into the next one. But okay. Let me first read off the intro portion of it, and then we'll stop the video and kind of do a second one after that. So you start off a call. This is kind of only for an outbound call, meaning that the dialer is calling in your behalf, and you get a call that's an inbound or an outbound call, meaning the dialer called somebody and they picked up. This is how you answer the call. Okay, so hello, this is Mark from National Jobs Online Employment Center. May I speak to Mr. Joe Schmo? Okay. Hey, Joe Schmo. I'm calling you today regarding your, you could say job application, but most times they don't really apply for a job. They're, just applying to talk to somebody in an employment center. So just say your recent application, okay? Recent application you submitted. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Yes? Okay. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Are you currently in school or working? Okay, what is the highest level of education you completed? Do you plan on furthering your education in the future? Now, as you're asking them these questions, based on their responses, like I did earlier, you would veer off into a couple things, but always come back to it. So, are you working or in school? No, they're not working or in school. Was the highest level of education you completed? Oh, I got my bachelor's degree. Okay, great. When was the last year you attended college? Okay, great. You got your degree back in 2002. Okay, fantastic. Do you plan on furthering your education, or you can rephrase it? Say, are you planning on taking any further classes within the next year, to maybe get caught up to date on some certificates or on some certs? No. Yes. Um, what will be your ideal career? Guys, this is a very important question. If you ask somebody, what is your ideal career, and they tell you my ideal career is a, bag boy we have Kroger's in Michigan, but let's say a bag boy at Walmart. That is not their ideal career. What they're telling you right now is the positions they are applying for. Okay, that person did not grow up with their hopes and dreams being a bag boy. Okay, that is not true. I've never met one person that if you talk to them on a personal level, on a real level, they will tell you realistically this is their goal. Okay, so bag boy does not exist. Okay, if they tell you I wanted to be a construction worker, okay, realistically, you want to be a construction worker your whole life? Let's say you're 50 years old. Do you want to continue being a construction worker up until retirement age of 65? And guess what? That retirement age keeps growing. Okay, by the time you're 65, that retirement age could be 70. Okay, so do you really wanna make it so you're working up until that point as a construction worker? Okay, maybe it's time to switch careers. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you're gonna be, you may love this job, but your body may not love it. Okay, if you're talking about a manual labor job and you're in your 50s, listen, by the time you reach 65, even if the retirement age does not go up, your knees will be shot, your back will be shot. Are you going to enjoy your retirement? Absolutely not. Okay, you're going to be spending all your money on doctor visits. You're going to be in pain. You won't be able to go do simple things. Go for walks without any pain. Why? Why put yourself through that when there's a better way? Okay, so just kind of fish out really what they would really like to do. Honestly, if it is a construction worker, great. Maybe what they want to do is start their own what's called contractor company. Okay, and we can help them do that. They already have the technical knowledge. Okay, they've been a construction worker for the past 20, 30 years. Okay, let's help them get the business knowledge so they can actually open up a company. Let's help them get some marketing knowledge. If they worked as a carpenter, what's stopping them from opening up their own shop? Nothing. Just knowledge. If they tell you money, it's a lie. Okay, you don't need much. You really don't. You just need the first couple of what's called clients. Okay, you can go out there. You can hire somebody to help you out. Okay, when you work as a contractor, you go in there, you give them an estimate. Okay, and they've probably been doing this already. They've just been doing it for somebody else. You go in there and give them an estimate. Okay, you agree on a price. They give you a certain amount down. okay, which you use for building materials, and then they give you the rest when the job's complete. That money that they give you is enough to go buy the materials, maybe some equipment you need, maybe even put together, get another person to help out. Okay, and you give them a little bit of money up front, and when you're starting out a company, you can bring somebody on, let them know that, hey, this is new, I got a job, I need help, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars right now, and then the job's complete, I'm going to pay you the rest of the money. Okay, that's the way you start off a business. I mean, you start it off by kind of figuring out some ways to get around different obstacles, and you get there, and you can do this. All right, I'm getting really long-winded about every little thing. I do apologize.